What's up, everybody? It's your boy Wings of Redemption, and I'm back, and I'm bringing you an audio commentary today on Black Ops. And what I wanted to talk about on Black Ops is something, well, even if you're young, even if you have no experience of driving whatsoever, you can pretty much tell me what the main stress of money is in the basic average household, and it's gasoline. Gasoline is something that everybody needs, everybody has to have. And cars, unless you live in like certain areas of the country, are a necessity more than a privilege. And car companies answer to gas. Instead of making better fuel efficient engines or making cars more aerodynamic, their answer is to make electric cars or electric and gas hybrid type cars. And I wanted to go ahead and say this is not the answer. You might be thinking, well, how's an electric car not the answer? It takes away smog, helps the ozone layer. Well, it does do all of those kind of things, but the fact is, it also does another thing. Electricity is another resource that we cannot renew. Coal is also, just like oil, is unrenewable and is actually a dirtier resource altogether. And we already run electricity in our homes, we run electricity on our iPhones and our computers and batteries. There's so many things that we use electricity for, and then all of a sudden we're going to start passing on our fuel consumption right into the electricity market as well. Basically what you're doing is you're passing the buck. You're not solving a problem, you're solving a problem the government set out to do. The reason car companies are pushing electric cars so much is because they have this quota, this mandate to have a certain miles per gallon average on all of their vehicles in their lineup by the year, so many years. And they don't want to lose money, so they're actually trying to make cars that can outweigh like their big heavy truck frames and actually get better gas mileage that way. Even though it's a good bill altogether, but who's to say that somebody couldn't just drop the truck out of existence in whatever year that they designed to have this mandate done and then just run off like their electric cars? The car companies don't care about the environment. The car companies don't care about a renewable resource. All car companies care about is profit margin. And that's why electric cars go so well in that situation. They're good at getting a lot of miles per gallon over very little gasoline. Because that's what they do. They don't use gasoline. But the fact is, electricity is horrible to run our cars off of for the main reason that it's another unrenewable resource that we're going to use up at an even faster rate that's going to pollute the air even worse from extra factories processing coal. Coal is what makes electricity for the most part. And let's just go and talk about other alternative fuels while we're at it and why a lot of things won't work. Another waste of fucking time is ethanol. Why is ethanol a waste of time? Other than the fact it does not have the same energy rating as gasoline. If anybody ever has a flex fuel or a car capable of taking ethanol 100%, you'll know what I'm talking about. Ethanol will get you about half the miles per gallon as a regular gallon of gasoline. And they started putting ethanol in regular gasoline to kind of like dilute it and actually you get less miles per gallon that way too. And it also eats up your fuel pump. Have you ever changed a fuel pump in a car that has been running that 10% ethanol or in some cases 20% ethanol? Hell, some of the engines that we have nowadays can't take 20% ethanol. Hell, I just bought a brand new truck, and that brand new truck can't take 20% ethanol. So if they ever start issuing only 20% ethanol gasoline, my truck might be worthless because the most my engine could take is 10% ethanol. So if they decide to start doing that, they can almost kick that in effect and make you buy more cars that way. Why is ethanol a joke? Why is it a waste of time? It isn't just because of the less energy rating. It's because it takes more gasoline to create a gallon of ethanol than it makes. So that's a negative. So if it takes you, let's just go ahead and use this in gasoline terms. If it would take you a gallon of gasoline to make a gallon of gasoline, you're not getting any profit. If it takes a gallon of gasoline to make half a gallon of gasoline, then you're making profit. Well, ethanol, it takes like a gallon and a half of ethanol to make 1 gallon of ethanol. Thus means it's a waste of time and resources. You're making ethanol, yes, but you're using more energy to make ethanol than ethanol makes itself. So it's a losing situation. I mean, the only way you can have a renewable resource or resources itself is to do it in a way that it doesn't use energy such as ethanol. And like John Deere tractors and things like that, they use diesel and stuff like that. So the only alternative is to make a tractor capable of pulling plows through dirt, or even to step back and go back to the mule, which we're not going to go back to the mule to make ethanol itself. And even then, cars will skyrocket. Ethanol's prices will skyrocket if you have to start muling the fields, because at that point, it's a harder commodity. It's rare. It's not made in mass production anymore. And the only way that we can do and get through this resource crisis is, one, find an alternative mode of transportation, or two, find an actual renewable resource, something like the wind, something like the sun, something that's abundant that we can never run out of. Well, we can run out of the sun, and we can run out of, I don't know if we can run out of the wind. I don't know the logistics of that. But the sun has like such a long period, you wouldn't have to really worry about it. And solar powered is probably the way we'd have to go. A solar powered car, blah 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 blah, and just limit our night driving to a minimum. But solar powered wouldn't last that long either, because you'd have no range. You'd pretty much limit the freight of the world. And that's another thing that you have to worry about, freight of the world. How are trucks going to get to all the food lines? How are trucks going to, pull those heavy trailers? How are trucks going to do this? What is the energy of sun? Like, how much power can the sun put out? If you ever look back at cars beforehand, before we redefined gasoline engines to what they are today, gasoline engines used to have like 100 horsepower and be like V12s. How is that even possible? Well, it was possible because the gasoline was so poorly engineered that it had very low energy rating. So those V12 engines, which nowadays would put out 700 horsepower, used to put out 100. What are your guys' opinion on renewable resources? Let me know.